Hi, Fred FR5ED here with a beer review. This is I-10 West Coast IPA from Intuition Ale Works in Jacksonville, Florida. I don't know how the distribution is on this so far. I haven't seen it here in the Orlando area yet. My wife and I happened to be up in the Jacksonville area a couple of weeks ago, staying at a bed and breakfast, and we stopped at a Publix grocery store there, and they had these in the six-pack. So there's no commercial description on either Rate Beer or Beer Advocate, so I'll read from the can. It says I-10, and I-10 by the way is Interstate 10, which starts in Jacksonville and runs to California. So anyway, let's see. I-10 has an explosive resiny body. No, it doesn't. It says I-10 has an explosive resiny hop aroma and flavor. I'm having to wipe through the condensation here. 4 varieties of hops create a tasty, coppery colored ale. And the 4 types of hops are Columbus, Summit, Cascade, and Centennial. Some of my favorites. And then, let's see, anything else about this? Let me look at Rate Beer. It rates a 91 overall and an 80 in style. You know, that sounds pretty good. That's after 48 reviews. It is, oh by the way, 7% ABV. It's nice and healthy for an IPA, single IPA. Now on Beer Advocate it rates an 87, which is very good. They say it's 7.3% ABV. Don't know who to believe. Maybe it just depends on which year or which batch. So anyway, again, there's no other commercial descriptions here, so it looks like we ought to just go ahead and crack it open and get to smelling and tasting. Alright, it's an IPA glass. Oops. Should know better than to pour over my keyboard. And the thing is, that's not my computer keyboard, that's my music keyboard. Alright, well that's a very significant head that's formed there. I'm going to move this off to the side for just a moment. And if you'll pardon me while I try to get the beer off my keyboard. There, okay. Now, that was simply to leave some time for this to settle, and wow, that is hanging in there. Well, while we're waiting for the head to settle down a little bit, let's get some aroma. That is very nice citrusy aroma. And to tell you the difference, and I keep harping on this glass, this special IPA glass. And if you haven't heard me harp on it before, go back and look at some of my recent IPA reviews where I talk a lot about this glass. It's a collaborative effort between, or among, I should say, Dogfish Head, Sierra Nevada, and Speak Aloud, the glass company. It's made just for IPAs, and it works. And the reason I'm bringing that up right now, I had a couple of these already, so I'm not going to pretend this is my first time tasting this. But I had the first couple of these, I should say, in a red solo cup. That's what I had on hand. And when I smelled it, what I was smelling was hop pellets. I mean, it really smelled like the hop pellets that you use when you're brewing beer if you're not using whole cone hops. I don't know why that just hit me that way. And certainly different hop pellets smell differently from one another. But I'm just saying I was just impressed with, wow, I smell like I've got a handful of hop pellets. Right now, same beer, but in this glass I am smelling bright fresh citrus, fresh squeezed oranges and lemons. There's some pine. In the background is that sense of the hop pellet smell, that intense hop pellet smell. But I'm really getting more of the expected release of those hop aromas, and I'm going to attribute it to this glass. So let's give it a taste now that the head's finally dying down. Sorry, got to get some more beer off my keyboard. Okay. Definite hop bitterness. Not sure what the IBUs are. Yeah, but it's definitely there. It's up there. And again, read something recently by I think it was Garrett Oliver, who was almost poo-pooing the beer reviews that that people do, kind of like this. And what he's saying is beer companies, number one, should not be influenced by the casual taster like me. I'm not going to write to Sam Calagione and tell him, hey, I don't like your Dogfish Head 60, it needs to be hoppy, or anything like that. One of the points that he makes is when we're, looking too closely at numbers like IBUs, International Bittering Units. He said there are so many factors in there, subjective, the alcohol content, so many things that affect perceived bitterness that looking at a number and judging whether or not it's going to be bitter enough or too bitter is ridiculous. So I wouldn't be putting too much emphasis on the IBUs anyway. So I'm trying to learn as I go along, and I'm taking my nod from Mr. Oliver. But my perceived bitterness of this, it's up there. It's making my mouth water. But it's good because there's still the citrus is coming through. Sometimes you'll get the citrus aromas, but you won't get the actual citrus flavor in there. And flavor don't mean additive. I mean the hop contribution to the citrusy flavor. It's good. I almost wish it were a little more full-bodied. It's like it's got the bitterness that's heading into a big, bold double IPA, but there's not enough maltiness backing that up. I like the citrusy flavors coming through. I do like the bitterness. I love the aromas. I'm getting too much bitterness for everything else that's there, if that makes sense. Now I'm back to, I almost get that sense of tasting hop pellets, and I have tasted hop pellets. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that love this. I like it. I would get it again. It's not the only one I'd want in my refrigerator for very long. It's just, I don't want to call it one-dimensional, but I don't think it's balanced enough for my taste. It's more bitter, hop bitterness than hop flavor and malt flavor. So, if that makes sense. So anyway, I'm going to enjoy the rest of that one, and I suggest if you can get a hold of this to try it for yourself. This is Intuition Ale Works I-10 West Coast IPA, and this is Fred, FR5ED, over and out.